Upon request of the parents, there will be 3 mentoring sessions with the student to focus on appropriate classroom behaviors, specifically waiting to be called on when raising their hand. So what we did, we had 3 sessions. The first session, we focused on what was an appropriate classroom behavior. So I would read a scenario off to the student, and I would say that the teacher asks the class a question, everybody raises their hands, the teacher calls on a student, and the student answers. And I say, this is an example of an appropriate classroom behavior. And then I would say, the teacher asks the class a question, students raise their hand, a student calls out the answer before the teacher chooses a student. And I would say this is not an example of appropriate classroom behavior. And then I would read that different scenario and ask the student to provide the appropriate behavior and the inappropriate behavior. In the second session, we would do a role play activity where the student is involved, and specifically we'll use art class since we know the student his favorite class is art, specifically pottery, and we would have a art class based scenario where the teacher says, okay, now we're going to score our pottery. Can anybody tell me what scoring means? And the student would be able to raise their hand and wait to be called on. The teacher would say, okay, I'm calling on you. And I'll pick that student, and then they would be able to wait their turn and apply what they've learned in the previous mentor session of what is appropriate classroom behavior. And then in the third mentor session, it would be in the classroom, in the normal classroom. They'd be able to apply what they learned in the scenario and the examples. They would be able to apply that into actually carrying through with using appropriate classroom behavior. So if their teacher had a question, they would be able to use what they learned to support, okay, I'm going to raise my hand and I will not call out the answer until I am called on.